So let's continue where we left yesterday. So I had said think over the equations. So let's see what happens here. So this is E1 vector, this is H1 vector. What was this? The total electric field E1 and H1 for a parallel plane waveguide, right? And considering perpendicular polarization, that is very important. So depending on the type of polarization, we will have different things. So let's see what is the first thing. So if you observe here, this is oriented in y direction, E vector, and H1 vector is oriented in x direction and z direction. So, and we have sine terms as well as cos terms. This is cos, I suppose. No, this is only m pi by beta 1d. That's it. This is correct. So, sine of m pi x by d, sine of m pi x by d, cos of m pi x by d. So, what you observe here, it is independent. The trigonometric functions are independent of frequency. First thing, right? You don't have the omega term or a lambda term. So, they are independent of frequency. So, let's take m equal to 0. So, what happens when m equal to 0? E1 goes to 0, right? What happens to H1? This is 0, so x component goes to 0, right? What happens here? It is positive. So this, we have a z component. So we have a z component. But we know from our basic electromagnetic engineering course that if there is no electric field, we cannot have a corresponding magnetic field. So this is just a mathematical anomaly. So H is also not there. That is, for m equal to 0, there is no E vector and H vector. Means the electric fields are not existing. Right? So let's try to understand this. Further, if m equal to 1, what is happening? Let's say x equal to d for simplicity. So it is sine of m pi. So I have m equal to 1. So it is what? Only sine of pi. So I have E vector and I will have, if you check, H vector also. Right? So and E vector will be oriented in y. H vector will be oriented in which direction? So sine of pi. So cos of pi. Right? So both will be existing. So x cap and z cap. Right? So for m equal to 2, last case. So sine of 2 pi. So again E vector will exist. This will be y cap. This will be H vector will be in x cap and z cap. Right? So for m equal to 1 and 2, it will not be there. Sorry, so for m equal to 1 and 2, we'll have the E vector and H vector. For m equal to 0, we'll not have. Right? What this means is, let's see. So if m equal to 0, there is no electric field. Means there is no variation, right, in x direction. So m equal to 0, no variation in x direction. Now let's see m equal to 1. What is happening? Why we are talking about x direction only? Because this is x. So it is talking about variation in x direction, right? And this is orientation. So when m equal to 1, let's say now x equal to d. So this will get cancelled. What will get? Only sine of m pi. And m is 1. So sine of pi. So what is the phase angle? Pi. So if you have a sinusoidal wave, this is 0, this is pi, this is 2 pi. So for pi only you have 1 half cycle variation. So m equal to 1 indicates what? 1 half cycle variation. Similarly, if you take m equal to 2, again x equal to d you assume, so this will get cancelled. So sine of 2 pi. So this will become sine of 2 pi. So 0 to 2 pi, what it indicates? 2 half cycle variation. Now you can see for m equal to 0, it was sine of 0. So 0 half cycle variations, that is no variations. So what does m indicates? From this we understand it indicates number of half cycle variations. This is very important, right? So this is the first thing we understood, right? So m indicates number of half cycle variation. So how to show this with the help of a diagram? Let's see. So this we have that z axis. So this is that z axis wala boundary, and we kept at a distance d another boundary such that the electric field is 0. So this distance was d. So if this was 0, this was what? Lambda by 2 cos theta. The question I asked, what was the separation? It was lambda by 2 cos theta, right? So what is it for m equal to 1? What we have? 1 half cycle variation. So we start from 0 and we again go to 0. So here what happens? It is max field. But what happens when m equal to 2? We have the same distance d, but we have 2 half cycle variations. So we have peak 2 times. So this is 0 field. So here this is 0 field. And if m equal to 0, what happens? There are no variations, right? So there are no variations, so everything is 0. This is for m equal to 0, right? So this is what we understand. Next, what we understand is, let's see. So if you are seeing the wave is propagating in which direction? E raised to minus j beta z, so positive z, right? So wave is propagating in z direction. Where is the electric field oriented? In y direction, that is transverse to z. What about h? It is transverse to x as well as z, right? What does this mean? That electric field has a special nature. What is the special nature? That it is transverse to the direction of wave propagation. Why are we concerned only with electric field in this case? Because it has only one component. Here we have two components. So here what is the speciality? That electric field is completely transverse to the wave propagation, and that is why this is called as TE mode. I forgot to tell what is the mode. So what happens here? When m equal to 0, there are no variations. When m equal to 1, there are variations like this. Means the wave will propagate like this. So if m equal to 2, wave will propagate like this, right? So these m are called as modes, and the propagation is called as modal propagation. Okay, so this is modal propagation. That is, in a waveguide, the waves travel in the form of what? Modes. And since the electric field is transverse to the direction of propagation, in this case, this mode is called as TE mode, right? So what happens for TE? And the mode is given with respect to this suffix m, where m indicates this number of half cycle variations. So does TE 0 mode exist when m is 0? No, there are no variations. There is no electric field, so no magnetic field. That is, no propagation will take place, right? So TE 0 mode does not exist. Next is what? M equal to 1. T mode 1 mode exists. So TE2 exists. So all further mode exists, right? So this is what. So the actual topic name is TE mode, or transverse electric mode of a parallel plane wavelet. So similarly, what you will have? You will have a TM mode. So let's see TM mode of a parallel plane waveguide. Okay. So now we'll use. So for getting a TM mode, what we use is we use a parallel polarization. So this is my Z, again this is X, and this coming out of the paper or towards the camera is Y. So I make a wave incident in this direction, it gets reflected like this. So now it is parallel polarization, so electric field is in the plane of paper. So magnetic field is perpendicular. So this is my HR. So this will be what? HR. So again, if I take, this is my thumb pointing in the direction of wave. So curled fingers indicate what? E to H. So E should be like this. So this is EI. Similarly here it should be E to H. So going like this. So this will be ER. Right? And again this is theta. This is coming out of the paper Y. So this is considering parallel polarization. Okay. So again we'll have the fields E1, H1 vector. Then we'll take that beta 1 x cos theta term will be there. So it will become equal to the sine of that term will become equal to 0. So this is m pi. So again we'll get cos theta and all those terms. Same terms you'll get. And after solving, finally we'll get the final field. So I am directly writing the final field. What are those final fields? The same fields which we got here, but there will be some difference because the orientation has changed. So let me write the fields. So E1 vector equal to 2j ei naught sine of m pi x by d e raised to minus j beta z m pi by beta 1 d z cap plus 2 ei naught beta upon beta 1 cos of m pi x by d e raised to minus j beta z x cap, and then we have h1 vector. Remember, these are total fields. So 2 ei naught upon eta 1 cos of m pi x by d e raised to minus j beta z y cap. So these are the final fields. What was happening in the previous case? We had only one component here. Again, wave was traveling in z direction. So what is happening here? Again, wave is traveling in z direction. To be precise, positive z direction. So what is transverse? Why is transverse? Right? Here also it is transverse. But what is the speciality in this case? Magnetic field alone is transverse to the direction of propagation. So what is the special nature? That magnetic field is transverse to the direction of propagation. Only one component is transverse. But here two components are transverse. So since one component is transverse, here we say it is transverse magnetic mode. Right? So let's see whether TM0 mode exists. That is when m equal to 0. So what happens when m equal to 0? This goes to 0. So z component is not there. But this component exists. So for m, I'll write here. So for m equal to 0, E exists and H. So this is 0. So H also exists. So for m equal to 1, obviously they'll exist. So m equal to 2, obviously they'll exist. So TM0 mode exists. So this is the difference. So what we have studied so far, let's summarize. For a parallel plane waveguide, T1, T2, T3 and so on modes exist, and TE0 mode does not exist. So this can be viva questions. So this is first, second, TM0, TM1, TM2, so far modes exist, right? So this is what we have studied so far, right? So next, let's proceed further. So next is what we would like to learn is about cutoff frequency. Okay. So what is beta? So we have seen it expression in the last lecture. So if you don't remember, you just refer the last lecture. So beta equal to beta 1 square root of 1 minus m lambda 1 by 2d the whole square. So we can also write it as beta 1, square root of beta 1 square. I am taking this beta 1 inside. So beta 1 under square root will become beta 1 square minus beta 1 square into m square lambda 1 square upon 4d square. And what is beta 1? It is 2 pi by lambda 1. So beta 1 square will be 4 pi square by lambda 1 square. So therefore beta equal to, so what will it be? It will become beta 1 square. If you solve, you will get m pi by d the whole square, right? So this is my phase constant, right? So usually we are talking about waveguides. So we have already said that losses are very less. We have seen in the introductory lecture of waveguides, last lecture. So losses are very less. So we can assume alpha to be 0. So what is gamma? It is alpha plus j beta. So beta is nothing but we call it as propagation constant. To be precise, we call it as modal propagation constant, because we have seen the waves travel in the form of modes, T mode, Tm mode, etc. like this, right? So for this wave to travel, what should happen? It is e raised to minus j beta z. So what should be beta? It should be real or imaginary, that will change. So e raised to minus j beta z form should be there. So if beta becomes imaginary, what happens if beta 1 square is less than m pi by d the whole square? Will get square root of j term, so it will become imaginary. So this beta is imaginary, so I can write e raised to minus j into j beta. So j becomes what? J square is minus 1, so it becomes e raised to beta. So we are getting an exponential term. So this does not represent a traveling wave. We have seen electromagnetics engineering course that it should be what? E raised to minus j beta z, or plus beta z will also do, right? So for that, beta should be real, right? So beta should be real. So what should we get? So therefore beta 1 should be greater than m pi by d, and we know beta 1 is 2 pi by lambda, right? So beta 1 is 2 pi by lambda 1, and lambda will be v by f. So now why I am not taking c by f is because we have bounded the structure now. So inside bounded a structure, inside the dielectric comes into picture. So because of dielectrics there would be losses. So the velocity may not be at the speed of light, because it will depend on the dielectric. So it will be what? 2 pi lambda is v1 by f. So f by v1. So we are seeing a frequency term here, right? So if I substitute this here, so 2 pi f by v1 is greater than m pi by d. 2 pi f by v1 is greater than m pi by d. Strictly speaking, greater than equal to. So what I get? F as greater than equal to m, pi will get cancelled. So m v1 by 2d, right? And if I want to write lambda 1, what will it be? So lambda is v by f, so v by 1. So from here we'll get 2 pi by lambda 1 is greater than m pi by d. So therefore pi gets cancelled. So 2d by m is greater than equal to lambda 1. So therefore lambda 1 shall write here, or lambda 1 is less than or equal to 2d by m, right? So let's see what do these equations mean again, right? So first is f is greater than or equal to m v1 by d, right? So what we have seen, this is my bounded structure separated by a distance d. This is lambda by 2 cos theta, this is 0, right? So within this bounded structure the waves travel, right? So what does this mean? Just think over it. What we have, I'll write it. F is greater than or equal to m v1 by 2d, right? So what does this mean? There should be a minimum frequency, it means. Why minimum frequency? Now I have a bounded structure, so waves should travel through this structure. So what we have deduced, that for beta to be real, where is it? Yeah, for the waves will travel only when beta is real. So when is beta real? When this condition is satisfied. So from this condition we deduce this condition. So waves will only travel when the frequency is greater than this value. So this is the bare minimum frequency. So since this is the bare minimum frequency, it is called as FC. So FC is what? Cutoff frequency. So arbitrarily any frequency will not travel inside a waveguide. A frequency which is greater than the cutoff frequency will only travel inside the waveguide. And what will be the corresponding wavelength? It will be lambda c. So we have already calculated it. It should be less than 2d by m. So this is what we understand from these two equations. So what is the concept of cutoff frequency? I hope you have understood. Right? So last concept in this lecture. So it is phase velocity and dispersion. So we already know what is phase velocity, right? So it is given by Vp equal to omega by beta. So we know the expression for beta. So it is omega upon beta 1 square root of 1 minus m lambda 1 by 2d the whole square, right? And what will be omega by beta 1? Can I say it is again a velocity? So it will be v1. So we have seen lambda 1 is v1 by f. So upon square root of 1 minus m lambda 1 by 2d the whole square. Now we have seen 2d by m is equal to lambda c for the minimum wavelength, right? So therefore Vp equal to v1 upon square root of, so what is lambda c? Sorry, what is 2d by im will be what in the denominator? So it will be 1 upon square root of 1 upon square root of 1 minus lambda 1 upon lambda c the whole square. So you can write this is lambda is v by f, this is v by f, so fc by f, right? So again right here, so therefore Vp equal to v1 upon square root of 1 minus fc by f the whole square, right? So this is the phase velocity expression. So this is very important. So all these expressions which we have got, this fc expression, these are important. They are asked as numericals, and usually the numerical will come for 10 marks. So it is a very simple numerical. So what we observe, phase velocity is depending on the frequency, on the operating frequency as well as the cutoff frequency. So why this is important? What was our original formula? Vp is omega by beta. So what was our beta in electromagnetics? Beta was omega root mu epsilon. So it was omega upon omega root mu epsilon. So the frequency terms were getting cancelled. So we were getting only 1 upon square root of mu epsilon, right? So this is what we were getting. So, and if it was free space, this was 1 upon square root of mu 0 epsilon 0, which come out to be 3 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second speed of light, right? So this was independent of frequency. So it is called as non-dispersive medium. So air is non-dispersive. That is what we came to know from this, because we had launched the wave in air. But now what is happening? So for example, we had taken this, again if I take this is z axis, this is x axis. If I make a wave incident, what will happen? It will get reflected, obviously, if this is a conductor, right? So since this was unbounded, it was getting reflected and it was independent of frequency. This was what? Free space, air. But now what is happening? I have bounded the structure. So the moment I bound the structure, in between, even if it is air, what is happening? The medium, even though the medium which is air, which is non-dispersive, the velocity becomes dispersive. So what is the meaning of dispersive nature? That it's the velocity depends on frequency. That is what we mean by this. Okay, so this is phase velocity. Next, last thing is group velocity Vg. So it is given as v1 sine theta. So if you calculate it, you will get Vg equal to v1 square root of 1 minus fc by f the whole square. Okay, so these are required in numericals. So now some of you might have a doubt, what is the difference between phase velocity and group velocity? We already know what is phase velocity. Group velocity is the actual information carried by the wave. So the electromagnetic wave always carries the information in the group velocity. Okay, and phase velocity only gives us the envelope, something like amplitude modulation. Okay, so let me check anything is remaining to cover. So that's it. So this is what is about parallel plane waveguide. So next we will see TEM mode, whether it exists in a transverse electromagnetic mode, exists in a parallel plane waveguide. Okay, thank you. So make sure you